there, crazy friends and family. It's Tyler, Fulghum and Anita Marks with you on this Monday. Ready to settle in for 30 minutes of bet coming off another crazy weekend in the NFL postseason. Anita, I see you are rocking the shirt of one Joseph Lee Burrow, who will be the quarterback for the AFC rep in the Super Bowl. Can't believe that the Bengals are there. You saw it flash on your screen for just a little bit. YouTube.com/ESPN Sports Betting, where you can find this show, where you can find content as it pertains to wagering and gambling across all platforms with all the familiar names and faces. Anita, did you have fun? Did you leave the couch or the chair yesterday watching those two thrilling championship games?
They were great. It goes to show you, and with all due respect to the Cincinnati Bengals, not always the best team wins. But man, I am sporting the Joe Burrow T-shirt because I like to use the word elixir. He's been the elixir as to why I think the Bengals upset the Tennessee Titans and upset the Kansas City Chiefs. Man, how can you not roll with him in the Super Bowl? But I know we're going to get into all that a little bit later on in the show.
Yes, we will. Our buddy Mike Tannenbaum, the Monday Messiah, will join us one final time since the football season is coming to an end with just one more game left to preview that Super Bowl. But it is Monday, Anita, so you know how we like to get things kicked off for the week here on Bet.
Yep.
It's reaction or no action. I say a statement. You tell me if you are reacting or if there's no play, no action on this statement being true. We'll start in the association where the Lakers are 24-27. LeBron is on the shelf. Yes, AD just came back. We know the struggles that have been there in Tinseltown all year long. The Lake Show will be under 500 at the All-Star break. Anita, reaction or no action?
Big time reaction here. I mean, how could we not, especially with news coming out of LA that now LeBron James is dealing with a knee issue so much that he returned back to LA early, whether it was to take in the Rams game yesterday or to get, therapy on that knee or maybe a little bit of both. But LeBron James is not 100%. Westbrook, not sure if he's the perfect fit. You look at the remaining 7 games, and it's some pretty good talent. Let me rattle them out for you. The Bucks, Golden State, the Jazz, the Clippers twice, and 3 of those games are away, and 2 back-to-back. So, of course, 4 games, 2 back-to-back. So it's not an easy stretch all the way up to, of course, the All-Star break. So reaction here as big time. I do believe they finish under 500 before they head to Cleveland.
I will take that baton from you. Reaction for me as well. You laid it out perfectly. The schedule really hammers it home, but regardless, the macro points that need to be made here, even with LeBron healthy for the bulk of this season, they're 24-27, 3 games under. Now, AD has been hurt for much of that, but Russell Westbrook, it appears, is not going to be getting any better or more comfortable fitting in with this team. Now AD, who is always one fall away from returning to the bench with an injury, is back but needs to get his legs under him. And then you have the LeBron James injury with his knee, which is a lot more serious than anything else. Those knees at 37, although LeBron appears to be bionic, that is something that does concern me, at least for the short term, the next couple of weeks. So with that schedule being tough, I, like you, reaction, think this is a team that will be under 500 come the All-Star break in the NBA. Let's get now to the National Football League. We saw rookie JaMarr Chase moss a cornerback in the end zone, catch a touchdown pass in the AFC title game from his buddy Joe Burrow. So if I spin it forward 2 weeks from now to the Super Bowl and say JaMarr Chase will score the first TD in the title game, plus 700, 7-1 are the odds on that first touchdown score in Super Bowl 56. Would you say reaction or no action, Anita?
I have to say no action here, and really for all the reasons I broke down all last week heading into the game against Kansas City, and that is, this is a Bengals team offensively and defensively, Tyler, just a really slow start. They rank at the bottom of the barrel in regard to scoring average in the first quarter, in the first half of games. In fact, it was another comeback for them against Kansas City. Kansas City went up by 7 in the first quarter, went up by another 7 at halftime. And of course, we saw Cincinnati having to come back. So they're just a slow starting team. It's just, they make such great adjustments with their coaching staff at the half, and that's a big reason why they've been winning football games and why we saw them beat the Kansas City Chiefs last night. So no action for me here. Again, slow starting team. I'm staying away from this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, Anita, you pointed out for this AFC title game that you expected the Chiefs to jump out early because of those slow starts, and that's exactly what happened. And if that trend continues, you would think it's the Rams that find the paint first on their home turf at SoFi. And even if the Bengals do score first, boy, it's going to be hard for JaMarr Chase to shake Jalen Ramsey down in the red zone. I have to imagine Raheem Morris is going to put Jalen Ramsey on JaMarr Chase in the red zone. Doesn't mean Chase can't win that one-on-one battle, but probably wiser for Joe Burrow to pick on someone else. Try and find whoever is trying to check T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd, or maybe just feed the rock to Joe Mixon in the red zone. So I, like you, say no action. If there was more value, if this was above 10-1, maybe 12-1, maybe that would entice me. But you've made a good point all season long about how the Bengals start slow, so it may be wiser to bet on a Ram to score the first touchdown, regardless of who you think is going to win this Super Bowl 56 matchup. And how about this one, Anita? Reaction or no action? The Super Bowl, the Pro Football Championship, 11-1 to go into overtime. It seems like OT has been all the rage recently in the NFL postseason, from the championship Sunday to the divisional round. So reaction or no action for some bonus football on Super Bowl Sunday?
I'm going to go reaction here for, again, a number of the reasons I just pointed out in regard to the Cincinnati Bengals. They are a second-half team. Their coaching staff makes excellent adjustments, both offensively and defensively, to engineer these comebacks. And here are some interesting stats for you. So the Bengals, 5 of their 7 losses were only by 1 score. 4 of those 5 were by 3 points. And let's be honest, I mean, as a rookie in the NFL, the Cincinnati Bengals, to me, have the best field goal kicker in McPherson, drafted out of Florida. And he's already broken NFL record, most converted field goals of 50 yards or more in the history of the NFL. So because they get the advantage on special teams. They're a great comeback team. They make great adjustments in the second half. Who knows? This very well could go into overtime. So reaction here for me, Tyler.
3 for 3, I'm reaction with you, Anita Marks. Why not? Let's just get crazy. If you go back to last Thursday's edition of Bet, Aaron Dolan and I were tasked with making some bold predictions for this weekend, and I said my bold prediction is that the Chiefs and the Bengals would go to overtime. That was 12-1. Turns out that indeed happened, so why not double down? I'll run it back, 11-1 for the Rams and Bengals to go to overtime, because I do think it will be a tight, close game, whether it's low scoring, whether it's high scoring, whether it's a slugfest or a shootout. I don't think either of these teams is going to run away from one another. Now, both are capable of doing that, but if I had to guess as to how the Super Bowl actually plays out, I think it's going to be an entertaining, tight game into the fourth quarter and maybe into overtime. So reaction with you. The story of these Bengals, Anita, is just absolutely nuts. If you take a look at their futures market as it developed throughout the season, before we played a single game, the Bengals were 125-1 to win the football championship. Now, that makes sense. They had won a grand total of 6 games the last 2 years combined, played in a really tough division where Pittsburgh and Baltimore and Cleveland looked like better squads. Of course, they won that division, got into the postseason. Those odds shrank to 18-1, then plus 750 going up against the Chiefs. But bottom line, these Bengals, a Cinderella story entering Super Bowl 56. So from the Cinderella story in Cincinnati to the man who improbably dominated Monday Night Football picks here on Bet 80% of the time, nailing the side during the season, our man, the Monday Night Messiah, Mike Tannenbaum. Let's dive in, Mike T, to this rather improbable Super Bowl 56 matchup. We kind of, I think, expected the Rams to be there going all in, but you saw the graphic on the Bengals. 125-1 at the beginning of the season to come into the Super Bowl. So they're a cute little story. Many didn't think they could beat both the Titans and the Chiefs on the road, yet that's exactly what Joe Burrow and the Bengals did. What impressed you most about yesterday specifically, the way in which they came back at Arrowhead and knocked off the Chiefs?
Well, first of all, I feel like I'm the Tennessee Titans of predictions. I was great in the regular season, and I just imploded in the postseason. So I was like the guy with the 1 seed. But I would say, guys, like, to me, a couple of things. That after 5 minutes to go in the second quarter, Kansas City only scored 3 points. We should get more familiar with the defense of the Bengals. We know about Joe Burrow, but that front, Hendrickson, Hubbard, B.J. Hill, and then on the back end, Mike Hilton played great. Eli Apple played great. They played more man-to-man the second half, and they really were able to hold up.
So, Mike, what a great time, right, for the Rams to finally beat the 49ers. And a big reason they were able to do so was the wide receiver play, not just from Cooper Kupp, but OBJ as well. Do you anticipate how good or bad they'll be in the Super Bowl? Do you think that we'll see another game where both wide receivers will put up over 100 receiving yards against that Bengals defense?
Anita, I think it's going to be a really high-scoring game. So, yes, I think what Cincinnati will probably do is what we saw in the second half, try to hold up man-to-man. Kupp and OBJ are playing great. Van Jefferson, a young receiver from University of Florida, he had transferred from Ole Miss. He's kind of replaced Robert Woods. He's been okay. Keep an eye on Tyler Higbee and his knee situation. But I do think outside, the receivers of the Rams should be productive enough for each of them to get 100 yards. And again, my general thought going into the game is I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Well, Mike T, we love it when you build a game script for us, kind of predict how you think the game is going to play out. Let's look at the side and the total for the Super Bowl. I think we know how you feel about the total based on you predicting it'd be a high game, but it opened at 3.5 with the Rams as a favorite. It's now the Rams favored as 4.5-point Super Bowl favorites. The total has ticked down a bit from 50 to 49. How are you planning on playing this or planning on predicting this Super Bowl matchup?
Tyler, this game's a lot like your avocado toast. It looks great. I want to dive in, but I should really walk away and show restraint because on paper, the Rams, to me, should win this game, especially the Ram defensive line guys against the Cincinnati offensive line. It's an egregious mismatch, but how can you go against Joe Burrow right now? Like, I kind of feel like they're the team of destiny. They probably have the best kicker in the world right now outside of Justin Tucker, and it's Joe Burrow, and there's something magical going on. But from a football standpoint, guys, you would just think that Ram front is going to dominate the Bengals, and it doesn't matter if they put the U.S. Olympic track team on the outside for Cincinnati. So, I don't know. Like, this is a tough one for me. Like, on paper, you got to go with the Rams, but there's something really magical about the Bengals.
An avocado toast a day will keep the doctor away, Mike T. Don't forget that. Don't be afraid to indulge.
I know. That's right. I'm wearing this magical T-shirt for the show today. So let's talk about these quarterbacks. All season long, this Bengals team has been a slow-starting team, and they have had quite a few comebacks. But we've seen it as well with the Rams. If it comes down to the Super Bowl fourth quarter, either team is down, which quarterback do you have more faith in engineering a comeback to win the Super Bowl on Super Bowl Sunday, Mike?
You know, Anita, I was just on a show with Teddy Bruschi. He put it best. You know, the only thing that stopped Joe Burrow has been a knee injury, right? Won a championship at LSU, comes to the league. Obviously, he got hurt, and now they're on a roll. And, you know, Joe Burrow said something interesting himself. He's like, we just beat Kansas City twice in the month of January. That's a pretty good accomplishment besides beating Tennessee, the #1 seed. So, to me, as good as Matt Stafford's been, I just can't go against Joe Burrow right now. I think something magical is happening there, and they have great skilled players. So, game on the line, I'm going to go with Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals.
The guy we want on the line when we are talking NFL betting is our guy, Mike T. I think this is the last time we're going to be chatting with you this NFL season, Mike T. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you on. You absolutely crushed it for us during the regular season. We'll see if you can bounce back in the postseason with the Super Bowl. But, my friend, it has been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us all football season. Mike Tannenbaum, our GM here on Bet.
Thanks so much, guys. It's been a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it.
All right, Anita, now it's time for us to have a little fun, kind of share our opening thoughts on the Super Bowl. We have plenty of time to dive in deeper as the next 13 days come and go, but that's the beauty of the Super Bowl. We like to overanalyze here in the media. But let's throw some things out there. You see the spread, you see the total, you see the date, you see the start time, all the important things there with the Rams and the Bengals. But if we kind of compare these teams initially on paper in certain key categories, let's see where we fall with our initial thoughts. Let's start first and foremost with those skill position players. You look at the wide receivers, running backs, tight ends for the Rams versus the Bengals. Do you see one team having an edge over the other there?
I mean, you know, the one player obviously that stands out to me, Tyler, is Cooper Kupp, obviously. But this is a Cincinnati Bengals secondary, especially Jamie Bates, who's having arguably one of his best seasons of his career. So I don't think there's anyone out there that could stop Cooper Kupp? Can you slow him down? It just seems like each and every week he puts up over 100 receiving yards, but at the same time, he can do that and the Rams can still lose. When you look at the total package of both skilled position groups, whether it's wide receivers and tight ends, I think it's equal balance here because Higgins as well as JaMarr Chase are fantastic. Running back wise, though, you give the edge to Joe Mixon over Cam Akers. He's only averaging 2.5 yards per carry in that backfield for the Rams. So skilled position players, just because of Joe Mixon, I think you've got to give Cincinnati just a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, I have it as a push because I do think there's a slight edge for the Rams as far as the pass catchers and a slight edge for the Bengals as far as their running back, Joe Mixon. The Rams do have two guys they can lean on. Sony Michel, who has won a Super Bowl, and Cam Akers has made this remarkable comeback from the Achilles injury. But I do think Cooper Kupp, as great as JaMarr Chase is, Cooper Kupp was the best wide receiver in the NFL this season. And then Odell, as great as T. Higgins is, I mean, Odell is a guy. He is a dude. T is a dude as well. But Kupp and Odell, and then you have Van Jefferson, Tyler Boyd. I think just a slight edge there. Both teams may be missing their tight end as well. That could be something that hurts the Rams and the Bengals, as both Uzama and Higbee got hurt during Sunday. But a slight lane for the running backs, with Mixon being a guy you can lean on in both the pass game and the run game. So a push for me as far as the skill positions are concerned. How about that all-important spot of quarterback? You have two guys playing in their first Super Bowl, two guys that wear number 9, but the stories are about as diametrically opposed as that. Although they were both number 1 overall picks, it's taken 13 years for Matt Stafford and a new team to get to the Super Bowl. Burrow does it in his second year, his first full year healthy in the NFL. So is there an advantage for one signal caller? Is it the guy on your shirt, Anita?
How could it not be? No, listen, you know how I feel about Matthew Stafford. And again, full transparency, the Buffalo Bills-Rams was the matchup that I had expected. That was my preseason matchup. And a big reason why is because I do believe in Matthew Stafford. I felt that he always got really the bad end of the stick because he played in Detroit. And I was excited to see what him and Sean McVay could do together. And listen, that offense, top 5 offense in the NFL, very explosive. You can't deny what Matthew Stafford's been able to do, especially after what you saw them do against a very good 49ers defense yesterday. However, Joe Burrow is special. There's something special. There's something unique about this young man. This offense has only gotten better, especially in the last 6 weeks. He's number 1 in completion percentage in the postseason. And so, I think these guys are pretty much neck and neck, even though, and I was talking to a few scouts today about Joe Burrow, and here's one thing we forget. Joe Burrow is 24 years old. Okay, he had to go through that. There was no transfer portal when he left OSU to go to LSU. So he had to sit out a year. So even though he's only into his second year in the NFL, he's still an older second-year player than most guys, most second-year quarterbacks in the NFL. So keep that in mind. He's a very mature 24-year-old.
Mature, unflappable, there's no doubt about it. I think this is a push yet again. As special as Joe Burrow is, there is no doubt about it. Matthew Stafford has proven to be pretty special for the Rams. Think about Cooper Kupp having this record-breaking season. Kupp played with the number 1 overall pick in Jared Goff, and although Kupp was injured, that team got to a Super Bowl. Now he teams up with Matt Stafford, and he turns into Calvin Johnson. Odell Beckham Jr. playing with Baker Mayfield, left for dead. Comes and joins Matthew Stafford. All of a sudden, he's the OBJ of old and likely earning himself a boatload of money for another contract, whether it's with the Rams or someone else. We see the great throws that Stafford makes. Now, he will throw it to the other team as well, but only 1 pass has been picked off by the opposition this postseason from Stafford. Burrow has 2. Bottom line is, I don't think there's a discernible difference. Stafford certainly has the experience advantage. There's no doubt about that. He's seen more NFL defenses. He has the lumps and bruises from his time in Detroit, whether that's good or bad. The experience is definitely in Stafford's advantage, but I think if you just take them collectively, it's hard to say that one is better than the other. Both are really dang good. One is just older than the other. One is just younger than the other. So I call it a push with the quarterbacks. Let's move to the defense. Maybe we can find some significant difference when it comes to the defense because, Anita, I do think my Rams have a much more special defense than the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, that is not to take away from the fact that the Bengals just held Patrick Mahomes at home to 3 3 points in the second half in overtime. They stole the ball from Patrick Mahomes in overtime. That was the defense, not Joe Burrow, that was, I think, mostly responsible for that win. However, Aaron Donald's going to the Hall of Fame. Might end up being the best defensive player of all time. Von Miller's going to the Hall of Fame. He already has a Super Bowl trophy and a Super Bowl MVP. Jalen Ramsey's going to the Hall of Fame. They just pulled Eric Weddle off the street at age 37, and although he is older, once upon a time, Weddle was universally regarded as one of the best safeties in the NFL. Add Greg Gaines, add Leonard Floyd, add defensive coordinator Raheem Morris. I do think if there is one advantage in this game that is clear, it is that the Rams have a more talented defense than the Cincinnati Bengals. Do you agree with that?
Yes, but don't let folks here in New York hear you say that you think Aaron Donald's the best defensive player ever in the history of the NFL, because Lawrence Taylor, watch out, Tyler, you won't be able to enter New York City again. But with that being said, yes, listen, that's right. Get him up.
Yeah. I'm ready to fight, New Yorkers.
LT, baby, LT. Anyway, really, this is where the matchup is going to be so interesting for me, right? And that is Cincinnati's offensive line has just been god awful. Although, keep in mind, they only gave up 1 sack yesterday against Kansas City. And Chris Jones, man, I thought Chris Jones was going to pin his ears back, get after Joe Burrow. That's an offensive line. They give up 64 total sacks this season, but they couldn't get to him. Now you got a Cincinnati Bengals offensive line that has 2 weeks to get healthy, get right, get mentally ready, mentally strong to go up against arguably, as you pointed out, Tyler, really one of the best defensive fronts in the NFL. And this is going to be so crucial. And Cincinnati's offensive line is going to have to step up to the test. But at the same time, football's all about matchups. It's a chess game. And Cincinnati's defensive coordinator and their coaching staff, bar none, this season in making halftime adjustments. And so that's an edge there as well. So, yeah, I mean, what's the best unit here? The best unit, hands down, is Aaron Donald in that front 7. But can Cincinnati challenge them? I think they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Lou Anarumo did a great job holding Mahomes in check in the second half with his calls. And it's not like they don't have studs on that defense. Trey Hendrickson is an absolute stud. As you mentioned before, Jesse Bates, their safety, is an absolute stud. There's some really good players on that Cincinnati defense. It is not to take away from them. I just don't know if they're already Hall of Famers like the Rams have at a few spots. So, first look, initial thoughts on Super Bowl 56. Plenty more to come over the next 13 days here on Bet on Daily Wager with Anita, myself, and the rest of the gang here on Daily Wager. Let's get away, though, from the NFL, I should say, and dive into the association, since there will be games played on the NBA hardwood tonight, one of which is in Philadelphia, where the Grizzlies are visiting the Sixers. The Grizz, a 3.5-point favorite, total of 217.5 for this 7 Eastern tip. Joel Embiid expected to miss this game due to some planned rest. So the favorite for the MVP and the NBA out. How does that affect your handicapping, Anita?
So, just FYI, this is why the early bird gets the worm. I'm already on this, and I've got the Grizzlies +4. I laid this early this morning before the news came. I know, Tyler, Mama's going to buy a new pair of shoes tomorrow morning. I jumped on this before the news came out that Embiid was more than likely going to be out. So, but regardless, man, I like this Grizzlies team a lot. They are a team, when you look at the opponents that they play, it's like they rise to the occasion of their opponents. They beat the more difficult teams. And I think that says a lot, where if you look at the schedule for the 76ers, and again, it's out of their control. They play who they have to play, but it's been a little bit lackluster. And they have like top 5 most difficult schedule moving forward, which is going to be interesting. But the fact that Embiid is out, this is a Grizzlies team. They play well on the road. They play well on the road as underdogs. I really like the Grizzlies tonight, so I'm going to lay the points. I'll lay the points all the way up to 6. That's how confident I am. Also, Jaren Jackson, by the way, is averaging over 3 blocks and steals combined a game without Embiid in the paint. I think he has a field day tonight, so I like the over in that prop bet as well.
Yeah, consider that in the prop market. And I agree with you. I'm on the Grizz. I do not have the CLV closing line value that you have, Anita, when you bought the Grizz when they were an underdog. But even with them installed now as a 3.5-point favorite, this is the team that has the best ATS record, the best cover percentage in the entire NBA this season. They're 34-18. They're covering 65%. And even if Embiid was in there, I would like the Grizz. With Embiid out, I love the Grizz, even as the favorite on the road in Philly, where it's tough sometimes to win. Embiid not the only all-star caliber player who is out tonight. Jimmy Butler will not be suiting up for the Miami Heat as they go to Boston and visit the Celtics. That's why you see the C's installed as a 6-point favorite against the team that has the best record, number one record right now in the Eastern Conference, the Miami Heat. Total of 209. How you playing this one, Anita?
Yeah, I like Boston here big time. Again, I liked them even before the news was out that Jimmy Butler was not going to play. This is a Boston Celtics team. I know they started the season slow, but they have gradually elevated their game of play, especially Tatum, man. He's averaging 35, 38 points a game, which is just ridiculous. Their perimeter defense is one of the best in the NBA, and that's how you attack the Miami Heat. And keep in mind, the Miami Heat overtime against the Portland Trailblazers, majority of guys played 45, 50, 55 minutes last night. They're going to be tired. And against Portland, it gets pretty chippy with those two ball clubs.
I think this is the first significant disagreement we have on the show. There's a few minor ones when we were talking Super Bowl 56, but I'm on the other side. I think even without Jimmy Butler, this is a little bit too much of a line swing for a Heat team, again, that is the best in the Eastern Conference, for a Boston team that has been underwhelming all season long. I know Tatum and Brown have been playing better lately, but there's still Bam Adebayo. These are still two teams that are very slow in terms of pace, bottom 6 in pace. That's why the total is only 209. So in a game that's expected to be a little lower scoring, giving me 6 points with the Heat, again, even without Jimmy Butler, they have the best record in the Eastern Conference. Bam is there. Tyler Hero is there. There's still some players. Eric Spoelstra is still one of the best coaches in the NBA. I'm going to be on the other side. I'm going to take the 6-point head start on the scoreboard with the Miami Heat. So a friendly little wine bet, I guess, tonight in the association for us, Anita. Heat and the Celtics. Hawks, though, we do need to discuss because this has been an interesting game to watch and monitor on the board. The Hawks have been surging. I think they've won 7 in a row. But it's the Raptors who are now favored by a point in Atlanta. The total's plummeted from like 220 to 216. Trae Young was a game-time decision yesterday. He did play, and he balled out. Trae Young is a game-time decision today. But the way that this market is moving, it makes me feel like someone knows Trae Young will actually be sitting out this game. So how are you looking at it, Anita?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I like the Hawks. I like the Hawks, again, before this news broke with Trae Young. As soon as I saw the line change, I was like, whoa, slow your roll. What's going on? Shoulder contusion. Dude, as Chris Rock likes to say, just put some tussin on it. Put some Robitussin on it. Get out there. So it's going to be a game-time decision. I'm not going to play anything yet. I'm not going to lay anything yet. I'm going to see if Trae Young is going to be active and attractive. If he is, I like the Hawks. Also, I like Capella and Collins in the paint. I think they'll dominate. So I'm also looking at some prop bets here. Over rebounds, over points and rebounds for both Capella and Collins tonight.
Yeah, again, even though it looks like Trae Young is not playing, I'm going to play the adjustment as being too aggressive. It came from 220 and a half down to 216. I'll play the over because even without Trae Young, there's still some firepower on that Atlanta side. There is, of course, some firepower on the Toronto side, the likes of Fred VanVleet, Scotty Barnes, and whatnot. So I think it's just a slight overreaction. Trae is certainly worth a lot of pace and a lot of offense. But even though these two teams aren't wildly fast, they're both not that good defensively, especially Atlanta. Atlanta's defense at home, although it's been better as of late, has been a very accommodating defense. And I think the Raptors can take advantage of that. And I think the Hawks will provide enough offense even if Trae is on the shelf. So I'm guessing an overreaction, gonna buy the dip, so to speak, now that's down at 216. Final game to look at, a complete mismatch in real life, but that's the great equalizer, the spread. The Warriors, an 11-point favorite on the road in H-Town, high total of 229.5. Anita, what say you?
Yeah, listen, give me the Rockets and the points. I know their defense is god-awful, but they've got a lot of firepower on the offensive side of the ball. And with no Draymond Green still out for the Golden State Warriors, I think that offense is going to put up some points and stay lock and step with Clay as well as Curry. So I like the Rockets getting the points, and also I like the over here as well.
Yeah, I like one of your plays that kind of correlates with mine. That's just the Warriors team total over 120.5. Would certainly love it. It'd probably be higher if Draymond Green was playing. But I think Steph Curry and Clay can take advantage of a team in Houston that's first in the NBA in pace. But they're dead last in defensive rating, and they're dead last in turnovers. They give extra possessions and easy buckets to the other team, and I think the Warriors can take advantage of that. So I think the Warrior athletes will get out on the floor, run and gun, and put up at least 121 points against the Rockets today. All right, that'll do it for this Monday edition of Bet. She is Anita Marks. I am Tyler Fulghum. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you back here next time on Bet.